Okay, guys. So there are a lot of people out there who scoff at the Bible. They say there's no scientific evidence for God. They say God is outside the realm of logic and rationality and reason. Now, I actually object to this, and I'm going to tell you why. And my argument is I'm going to base it off the anthropic principles. Now, for all of you who don't know what the anthropic principles are, there's a weak and strong anthropic principle. And in my opinion, and to a lot of other scientists out there, I'm not calling myself a scientist, but to a lot of other intelligent people out there, this is very good evidence for the existence of a God. Now let me tell you what the anthropic principles basically are. Okay, so there is about 100 variables to this universe that would have made life impossible. I'm going to give you some examples of these in a little bit. But if these variables of the universe that we have, which is part of science, were even slightly different, life as we know it could not have possibly existed. It would have been impossible. Now, from this conclusion, we can see that either this universe had to have been finely tuned on purpose to the conditions that make the evolution of life possible, or your other option is that there would have had to have been Googleplexes of universes, just beyond numbering. And those are your two options right here. I'm going to give you an analogy to help you better understand this concept. Now, if you went down the street and saw a quarter on the sidewalk, you would think naturally, someone dropped a quarter. If you went down the street and saw a handful of quarters on the sidewalk, you would think, well, someone had a big hole in their pocket or dropped a roll of quarters. But if you went down the street and saw 100 quarters on the sidewalk, and they were all carefully balanced precariously on their edges, you would have to think someone did this on purpose. Someone had to have deliberately put these quarters standing up right on purpose, right? We can all agree with that. Now, this is how balanced the universe is. There's no question about it. And this theory is known as the strong anthropic principle. So, the only possibility other than this universe being created is that there is so many universes that the equivalent of 100 quarters falling out of someone's pocket and all of them landing up balanced on their edges actually occurred by random chance. This is known as the weak anthropic principle. So if you are a rational thinker, here are your only two choices. Either this universe was created, or that there are multitudes of universes. Now, here is what I call the modified weak anthropic principle. If there are that many universes, then the chances of a being like God evolving would also be equally increased by all that abundance. Ecological niches tend not to stay empty. You could, of course, call such a being something other than God, but if it quacks like a cosmic duck and waddles like a cosmic duck and builds little universes that produce baby cosmic ducklings, I don't see why you can't call it a cosmic duck. Paul did say we grow into Christ, Ephesians 4:15. Now, the blind watchmaker may have started out blind. Some universes, somewhere, somewhen, but it evolved eyes right along with the rest of life, and you can be quite sure it will do whatever is necessary to guarantee its own development and continued survival. Just the same way as any life form would. God does not play dice, he plays poker, and he continually stacks the deck in his favor. Or, if we say he plays dice, he throws so many, some are bound to land with the right numbers up. Weak anthropic principle. Now I'm going to go over some of these variables that I've been talking about. Now, I'm going to only name about 7 because I can't go through the entire list of over 100. I'll give you 7 of them. They're probably my favorite, and they're probably some of the most easiest to understand. So let's start with the first one. Now, gravity is roughly 1,030 times weaker than the electromagnetism. If gravity had been merely 1,033 times weaker than electromagnetism, stars would be 1,000,000,000 times less massive and would burn 1,000,000 times faster. Another one. The nuclear force is 1,028 times the strength of gravity. Had the weak force been slightly weaker, all the hydrogen in the universe would have been turned into helium, making water impossible, for example. Another one. Now, a stronger nuclear strong force by as little as 2% would have prevented the formation of protons, yielding a universe without atoms. Decreasing it by 5% would have given us a universe without stars. Another one. The charges of the electron and the proton have been measured in the laboratory and have been found to be precisely equal and opposite. Were it not for this fact, the resulting imbalance would force every object in the universe, our bodies, trees, plants, rocks, stars, to explode violently. The universe would consist solely of a uniform and tenuous mixture not so very different from air. There would be nothing else. Another one. The very nature of water, so vital to life, is something of a mystery. Unique among the molecules, water is in its solid form is lighter in its solid form than its liquid form. Like, for example, ice floats. If it did not, the oceans would freeze from bottom up and Earth would be covered with solid ice. This property is traceable to unique properties of the hydrogen atom. Another one. The synthesis of carbon, the vital core of all organic molecules, on a significant scale involves what scientists view as an astonishing coincidence. In the ratio of the strong force to electromagnetism, this ratio makes it possible for carbon-12 to reach an excited state of exactly 7.65 MeV at the temperature typical of the center of stars, which creates a resonance involving helium-4, beryllium-8, and carbon-12, allowing the necessary bonding to take place during a tiny window of opportunity, only 10 to 17 seconds long. And the last one I'm going to give you is, there is a remarkable feature of the universe, its emptiness. Stars are extraordinarily distant from one another. However, were it not for these vast reaches of empty space that I believe God created on purpose, violent collisions between stars would have been more frequent as to render the universe uninhabitable. The yet more frequent near misses would detach planets from their orbits around their suns, flinging them off into intersecular space, where they would be quickly cooled to hundreds of degrees below zero, like Pluto, for example. Now, as you've heard me say these things, there must be something going in your mind as, hey, God can be taken seriously because we see it in the universe. We see it happening. It's scientific. It's in journals. The Bible says you will be without excuse on the day of judgment. Now, I'm giving you these examples. If you don't want to accept these as science for the existence of God, then so be it. But you will be without excuse on the day of judgment come Jesus Christ's return. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening. I'm sure you got your 1 stars ready. And I've given you the evidence.